It's all right.
Well, I don't really think it started until we really had this vision. And to this day, I really don't understand.
So the whole Cougar Project idea really started out in the winter of my freshman year. And that was actually the time after our first cross-country season where we thought we might have been able to get to state, but then there was a lot of complications. So we were just kind of messing around in the locker room during the winter, and Steven drew a little CP symbol on the stone of the locker room, and it was kind of as a joke, and we were like, oh, we're gonna make the Cougar Project. It's going to be like the Oregon Project, but at a high school level. But we never actually decided that we were actually anything was going to come of it. But then it did.
Well, initially the Cougar Project was actually kind of a joke. I looked at other projects like the Oregon Project and the Bowerman Running Club and things like that. And I joked around a little bit about it. And I was like, hey, we could make a Canby High School project.
Bush Park. So the Thursday night races at Bush Park in August gives the athletes an opportunity to kind of start their racing, get prepared mentally for racing.
All right, Steven, nice job. Right on it.
Yeah, I would run in the summer sometimes. In the morning on my own. I didn't really know anybody at the time. So, and then once August came around, we would start to do these races at Bush Park, and that helped lead into cross country and get us like in the racing mode.
Come on now. Right up on him, right up on him.
White collar conservative flashing down the street, pointing their plastic finger at me. White collar conservative.
And it's exciting to watch the kids who come out and run those races kind of test themselves. There's no nothing to lose, no high stakes. It's just an opportunity to test yourself.
Finish out.
Yeah, well, initially, during the summer, I lost a lot of fitness, I guess I could say. I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and it was just a really awful time with tonsillitis. And then once I got them taken out, I had to miss maybe a month more of running. And when I got back, I was, questioning the shape I was in. And so we went down to a Salem race, and the first week I raced decent, and I remember thinking to myself, like, hey, I'm not that bad. I'm not in like terrible shape.
Bush Park is definitely a major key into the success that we had in cross country. Those early races in August at the end of summer really helped develop our racing skills.
Jim, finish! Finish! Bring it in. Good job, Neil!
Coming into cross country season, it was my first year in high school and it was a fall sport, so very beginning of the school year for me. And I think something that was really important was that I made like some upperclassmen friends, or at least people who would talk to me and stuff. So I think that was really good to get a start on high school, and they were a really supportive group of guys, and getting all the running in with them was really great.
Pointing their plastic finger at me.
Alright, going into cross country, I didn't really have any experience running. I only played like basketball and lacrosse, but never had a fall sport. So I decided to give cross country a try because I was a good runner.
Alright, Trevor. Come on, Cole, let's go.
So the first race was a 3K at Malala River State Park, and me and Cole ran it together. And we had this other guy from David Douglas, I think, and I would barely be able to beat him by like 0.2 seconds, but it was a really good opportunity to get us ready for the 5K.
Marcus!
Our first race was the Canby Invite, and as we got up to the starting line, I had been wearing my spikes, but I didn't have the spikes in the shoe, and it was just plastic on cement, and boom, I just slipped. It wasn't the best start to the season, but I got back up and we started the race again, and Canby ended up winning the Canby Invitational as a team, which we hadn't done in 9 years, and Steven won individually the second year in a row.
Go, Steven!
I was actually nervous coming into my second Canby Invite. I wasn't sure what shape I've been in because I kind of had a rough spring. Then my summer wasn't how I thought it would be. So I actually had no idea how fast I was going to run at the Canby Invite. So for most of the race I was actually running scared. But just to have the feeling that, you know, I've been I think only 3 other people have done it, to go back-to-back titles in the Canby Invite, that's pretty cool. But then the more important thing was that our team won for the first time in 9 years.
Yeah, my time at Canby was 2000 to 2004, and I have some really great memories of that time being a Cougar. There's a lot of things I learned during that time, a lot of relationships that mean a lot to me that I formed during that time, and it was a really cool atmosphere for me to grow as a person and to be part of a team. Those are some things that I'll never forget. I love the fact that our name is the Cougar because I think it really represents this community well. I see the Cougar as, it's not necessarily the most dominant or overpowering creature in nature, but it's relentless and doesn't back down from a fight. It's a humble creature, but it's tenacious. And I think that really typifies our community well. We're a small town, but we got a lot of heart. We don't give up, we always keep going. And so I think it's really fitting that that's our name, the Cougar, because it totally is a parallel for who we are.
Got a big race coming up today. Yeah, pretty excited.
The Westland meet at Mary S. Young Park I felt was very big. That day Steven happened to be sick and decided that he wasn't going to race. And so we all got a taste of what it was like when our team leader stepped out. And all the guys stepped up, and we ended up, I think, without Steven, still finishing right in the mix.
I used to worry a lot. I used to stay up to the break of day.
So one of my highlights from cross country was the Yakima meet, and that was like the first time when we really came together as a team and started bonding. We didn't really know each other.
But that trip was really where all the guys in the Cougar Project started to come together and start working together and actually be like talking more than we were before. Before we were just kind of like, oh, these are the freshmen on the team, these are the upperclassmen, these are the guys, and we just separately did our work. But at that point, that's where we started to really come together.
Yeah! Blue 42! Sit! But mom!
So at Yakima this year, one of my biggest accomplishments was placing high in my race, and I ended up PRing by over a minute.
And it was, I think, a lot of good races our team had. I know I personally, it was like when I started to work on my finish and I was able to pass a few people at the end, and that was a really big step for me, I think. But more importantly, as a team, we really came together, and it allowed us to really finish the rest of the cross-country season and beyond hard.
All right, Tim.
So at Yakima, our team started bonding really well. Like before the freshmen, we didn't really know any of the older guys. But at Yakima, we bonded well. We went to like Denny's and at the mall, and we just got to know each other better. And hanging out at the hotel and the pool and stuff, we came closer as a team. And the actual races, we all did really well, and it was probably my best race of the year, and I just thrived on the course.
Go Ian. Remember, at the top of this hill, use the top of the hill. So Yakima was definitely the first time when our team came together as one, from freshmen all the way up to seniors.
Catch this guy, let's go.
And we really bonded well and realized that, hey, we're a pretty good group of friends, and we can use that to our advantage.
Bring it in, bring it in.
Because it's a lot easier to run together than to run separately.
And then that day, you know, I was of course the number one guy, racing against all the other number one guys from all the other teams. And I felt a little bit of pressure on me, to be honest. I didn't necessarily know what to expect. And right before I was standing there, and you know, they started announcing all these guys that had won all these awards, and you know, district champions and all that stuff. And I noticed that they skipped over me, and I kind of took offense to it a little bit. And you know, I came out with something to prove. And mile 1, I was leading, which I think shocked basically everyone.
Let's go, Lou! Come on, Mason!
Come on, Steven! Put yourself in good position. That a boy.
And then going into mile 2, I lost maybe like 13 people, I want to say. And so I was like in 13th or 14th place or whatever.
Come on, Steven, put your eyes up. Let's go.
Close the gap. You got this. You're in 9th.
And then, you know, I just decided, like, I'm going to finish strong. And I worked my way all the way up to 7th place. And that was outside of state. That was probably the deepest field I ran in all regular season. Because I remember when I crossed the finish line, you know, through my mind, the only thing like going was just, I am so dead. And I've never felt like I finished like that before. That was really the first time where I was able to recover and then finish strong.
Feel.
You were closing it, don't worry.
Like water.
Okay, let's do this. So what's it? You're gonna start the tempo and start there. But it's a lot faster than we were doing it when we first.
Yeah, we should do it a little better.
Okay, ready? 1, 2.
There are stars in the southern sky.
As the season progressed, we knew that it was going to be harder to keep doing what we were doing. And I think every race that we did, we learned new things about tactics in our racing, about each other, and about teamwork and brotherhood.
4 of the 5 senior boys here, and we'd like to recognize them. One was in a JV race, David Clark. Good job, last meet, home meet. Timothy Ochanikov. Ian Oakes. And Stephen Cranston. Be a little careful at the start. You got 5,000 meters to set. Runners sit.
Go Cougars! Go Camp!
Go, Steve. Let's go. Good.
sweet and
Our
honey.
two teams, you guys should be celebrating big time.
So it was really cool to be able to run at districts my freshman year. It was a really huge meet. I hadn't ran any many races like that when there were so many teams and competition. So that was really cool.
Yeah, well, for districts, that's something that's kind of been an elusive race for the program the last couple of years. What I mean by elusive is that we've never quite been able to accomplish what we have wanted to. And so going into senior year, I was thinking, this is my last shot. I'm going to run as hard as I can, and I can't control what the team does, but I feel something special today. And
as we got closer to district in cross country, we knew we were up against a pretty tough beast. There were 5 or 6 teams that could have easily qualified for state. We knew we were in that battle.
So at districts, my goal was just to keep up with Tristan and Ian going into it, and I knew if I could keep up with them, we'd have a solid pack and would give us a good chance to make it to state and finish in the top 3.
And so I went out, and I remember I was running with the Olar twins and Mark French, and that was kind of a pack of 4.
I've been struggling throughout the season in my racing, cramp problems, issues right in my abdomen area. About the mile and a half mark, I started to get that cramp that I've been getting usually in that area of the races, and I just had to struggle through it, and I started to fall back, and I knew I couldn't let the team down, but my body physically was just not where I wanted it to be. And pretty soon there was a pack of Tristan and Ian and Cole, and they came by me, and I wanted to go with them so bad. And I just put my eyes up on their shoulders and was pushing. I knew I needed to be Canby's number 2 guy if we wanted to make it to state.
In about with like a half mile left, I started to feel kind of lightheaded, and my legs were getting like I couldn't feel them very well and getting kind of like loose.
As we were coming to the end of the race, and I was coming around the corner, I knew I had to still finish if we wanted any chance of making it to state. And as we came around the corner, I just saw Cole on the ground I think he was crawling on all 4s.
So coming into the finish with like 100 meters left, I just felt really lightheaded and my legs were just done, and I fell down, and at that point I just knew I had to finish the race.
The freshman, Cole Thomas, on the varsity squad really had the race that a lot of fans and athletes got to witness. The last 150 meters, he had ran so hard. The first 48:50 of that race, it was remarkable. It was amazing. If the race could have stopped there, we would have had a ticket to the state meet.
I knew our chances for state were pretty slim, but I figured if I could finish it, we might still have a chance. So I got up and kind of wobbled to the finish. don't really remember like the last like few yards, but I think Tim helped me finish.
I had been a part of this program for almost 4 years at that point, and I'd never seen someone give so much in a race, to the point where they were just so physically exhausted that they couldn't even finish the race on their own.
Oh my! Fourth place in 1608 from Canby, Stephen Princeton.
You know, I just pulled out a gutsy race. I took 4th, and that was a good feeling to, you know, because I think the year before I took 7th or something like that. Just some ridiculous number that I should have taken way higher.
So like, yeah, we were like really close. We really wanted to go to state. We were all running our best, and I know I put out my best race. So did Ian, especially. I know Steven did well, and we had a couple of guys that just barely missed it. We would have had going to state. We missed it by a couple places. Got knocked down out of that spot to go to state, and it wasn't anyone's fault. Everyone ran amazingly. It was just a couple incidents of bad luck. After districts, only Steven made it to state, obviously, and we went down to support him there, and it was really just kind of changing for me because I got to see how big the meet was and how much competition there was, and I thought to myself, and I knew that I wanted to be there next year. I wanted to go to state at least.
Come on and hold me.
So at the state meet, I remember riding the bus down. And right when we got to Eugene, I realized I forgot my running shoes. So I was kind of scrambling, like, how could I forget my running shoes on one of my most important races in high school? And of course I was mad at myself, but then Tristan was like, oh, here, borrow a pair of my shoes. And I remember thinking to myself, I just really want to go out and give it all that I can. It's my last cross-country race, probably of high school. Just go out and try to do the best I can. And the gun started, I remember, you know, I was elbowed a lot, and it was really aggressive, and so I just cut around it and went outside, and the next thing I know, I was in front of everyone, and I was leading the state cross-country race. I remember that was the most, like, strange feeling. Running down a straight stretch, and it was really windy, and right after that, right when we started to loop around the ponds, the next thing I knew, there was just elbows thrown everywhere and people falling, and next thing I knew, I was like in 26th place. And then we came around the course into the 3rd mile, and by that time I was like in 23rd place. And I finished strong, and I fought back up to 16th place? 19th place, yeah. And so the top 16 times go to Border Clash, which is Oregon against Washington.
I think I am one of the few fortunate people who have been able to see Stephen Cranston high, low, in between, because I've had to coach him and work with him, try to help mold him a little bit. His best as anybody can do, because we are talking about Steven Cranston. But the kid has heart. He's always had heart. He's always wanted to make an impact. Sometimes not necessarily the best choices to make an impact, but you know, if you're going to battle with racing shoes, I'd probably want Steven Cranston on my side. So making it to Border Clash was remarkable. It was amazing. It was a goal that he had set for himself before the season started, and he made it. So how he did at Border Clash, we weren't really too concerned about that. He wasn't too concerned about it. He got to enjoy and celebrate his commitment, his progress.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're set to go with the second of our 2 races here in the 17th Annual Border Clash here on the Nike campus. As our squads get to their respective start lines, back to the center there as our participating drum lines from Southridge and Skyview will entertain us here up until the start of the race.
Washington on 3! 1, 2, 3! Washington! Go get it! Go, guys!
Combine the field straight up through the gallery. Let's hear it for them as they're underway. Just 2 points separate these 2 squads after the girls race. The crown of champion here in Border Clash 2015. They are underway, and you know, again, a lot of talent, a lot of traffic here early on, and you know, you're used to that. We asked Emily about it. How do you?
Attaboy!
So if I could identify a defining moment in Canby Cougar history for cross country running, it would have been that fall of 1985 when the senior had mentioned to my brother, after he suggested how cool it would be if somebody from Canby had won the state championship, and he remarked that there's no way somebody from Canby will ever win the state championship. You had to be there to see my brother's eyes, his it's almost anger, and even at that moment I didn't realize the commitment that my brother would make to achieve the goal that a senior on our own team had suggested. There's no way anybody from Canby will ever win. Of course, at this point, this is when Coach Tom Milberg took over the program.
Right, I came to Canby in the fall of 1985 to teach and coach cross country and track. It wasn't my first job. I spent 2 years in Eddyville, Oregon after going to college at Pacific, and then 9 years at Oahu, Washington, and came here to coach and teach.
But really, everything started, you know, I would have to go back to, you know, the year Milberg started coaching, to be honest with you, because I think that's when the mindset of, you know, me and my peers on the cross country team and on the track team kind of changed. You know, I mean, Millbrook had, I'd refer to it as a militant style. You know, we were sophomores going into our junior year, and there were a couple upperclassmen that, I don't know, you just always thought of as kind of goof-offs, I guess. You know, and Millbrook came in, he was kind of like, okay, you know, we got a lot of preparation, a lot of work to do to be successful. And, you know, a couple of seniors left the team because they didn't want, you know, to do the work. And for us, you know, going into junior year, a couple sophomores, I think that's what we needed. You know, it's kind of like a shake-up.
The season 1986-87, that was my second year at Canby, and basically had a real good group coming back, so it wasn't a surprise. We had the twin brothers, Webbers, and Jeff Peterson, TJ Chandler, and Tom Stewart, and they were varsity the year before, so we knew we'd be pretty good. That group had some talent. They also were hard workers. They cared about each other. They worked hard and got rewarded for it, which is good to see.
I've always felt like that particular moment was a defining moment of the underdog mentality, the hard work ethic. Us having grown up on a farm, Mom and Dad had taught us to work hard. We always did. Running was more of a gift for us.
But the philosophy that Millbrook instilled, you know, from the first moment he was here was, you know, running twice a day. You know, that was something we hadn't been exposed to. You know, the work that I was going to take to prepare, you know, to be successful.
It's probably the same philosophy I've had over the years, is just to help people get better, teach them some good work habits, and if they're getting better, then I feel I'm doing my job.
I think I was fortunate. All of us were fortunate. You know, Bob, Mr. Weber, and myself, and Tom Stewart, TJ Chandler, Jeff Peterson. You know, that group that Millbrook first got to coach. I think we were all fortunate that, you know, Millbrook came into our lives at that school at that time, because, you know, we listened to everything he had to say, and, you know, we did everything he asked. So in our minds there weren't choices. It's not like there was an option, you know. I mean, we all wanted to be successful, and Millbrook was giving us the blueprint to be successful. So we just took it and ran with it.
So in the beginning of Millbrook's career, he was a part of a greatness. But it all started that fall of '85, when someone told my brother that it can't be done. And I've been a part of some amazing races, some amazing athletes here at Canby, and I have to go back to that moment of Mark Webber being the underdog from Canby.
Previous year in '85, you know, I mean, we were really optimistic, and we thought we'd done the work, and we thought we prepared, and it didn't end up that way. So, you know, no matter how much success we thought we were enjoying at the time, we kind of always knew that it wasn't going to compare to the work that we were going to have to do, you know, on November 2nd in '86 at the state meet. So, you know, every workout that we had, every hard run that we had, every Lydiard that we ran, I mean, our objective was to run out of our mind and know that at state it was going to be harder than anything we had ever experienced. And we just kept telling ourselves that for an entire year, month after month. And yeah, that led to the state meet. I mean, it wasn't one of these things where you go into it 5 weeks or 6 weeks in and go, oh, hey, we're going to be on the podium, we're going to win a trophy, or I'm going to be state champ. You know, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was years in preparation, and I think that's probably the most, you know, not understood mindset that I think most, you know, young people don't understand today, is that there is no quick rise to the top. You know, it doesn't come easy. And I mean, if you want to line out 2 years worth of days to fully grasp what it really means and how much time and how much effort it really took, you know, for our entire team to be on the podium and for, you know, me to be, you know, a state champion, it took one hell of a lot of work. And that's basically what we did. I mean, that was our life, you know. Teachers and administrators and parents always talk about priorities, you know, in your life, and I guarantee you, us 5 that ran on November 2nd in '86, our first priority was always running first. You know, school was never a top priority. As much as we'd like to say that, you know, school should be your first priority, reality was that, and it is, and I think it's this way for anybody who, you know, excels at anything, no matter what the sport or extracurricular, and that's, you know, that really is the first priority in your life. And for us, that's what it was. Running was our first priority. There was a reason why we got up. First thing we did was run. Before we went to bed, the last thing we did was run. You know, before we went to bed and when we got up, you know, we were doing drills and stretches and, you know, core work, and I mean, it was always about running. It was always about being the best that we could be and making sure that we took every opportunity, every moment to be better. And that's what we did. It wasn't about girls. It wasn't about, you know, partying, going out. You know, I mean, those are things we just didn't do.
The ghost of Cougar Past is a phrase that I like to use, and I'll tell you why. It's not because I think the Canby track team is haunted, but it's because it reminds me of who's come before. The ghost of Cougar Past, it's like those voices that are speaking to the athletes that are here now, as an encouragement, as a support, and as a reminder that we're a community. No matter how far we go from Canby and no matter where we go, the Cougars are always Cougars. And the ghost of Cougar Past is that voice, that strength, that spirit that propels the current athletes forward with everything that we as former athletes can give them, all of our support and all of our encouragement. And that's why the ghost of Cougar Past is important, because it reminds us that it's more about just our time here, it's about a legacy. And that's what we're about as Cougars.
The era, Eric Logston era, and I wouldn't really call it an era. There's a lot of other people that I'd mention that sort of came before Eric that were real good examples. Will Smith, Brent Pedersen were excellent runners, excellent role models. Jake Zeise was a year ahead of Eric, and so Eric wasn't the star as a freshman or a sophomore, but Eric certainly ended up being the most successful in the high school level for us. As I look back on Eric, probably his strengths weren't natural talent as much as how focused and how disciplined he was. And at Canby, over the years, we've been real fortunate to have good examples, good role models, people who sort of showed you the work needed to be done to be successful.
So help me to see the light, Mama. Open my eyes again, and tell me it's alright. Help me through the night once again.
The next group you want me to talk about a little bit is the 3 people together that had a good time and were very successful. Dennis Brands, Brent Faschholtz, and Joel Savain. Now Brent was 1 year ahead of Dennis and Joel, and Brent started out in track as a sprinter, 200, 400 runner, and then ended up being a pretty good high school cross country and probably a better college cross country runner than he was even in high school. Dennis was, as he is now, was a great role model, great example, good worker. Dennis grew so fast in high school that he had a lot of injury and tendon ligament type problems, so he didn't have the success that he could have. Joel Savain was very successful. The nice thing about those three individuals is they were friends, they cared about each other, and sort of shared in each other's success.
During the winter, our coaches, Millbrook and Weber, they told us about this cool thing that there was a track built in Portland called the House of Track, and you could pretty much sign up and come for workouts paced by Nike employees. And we went to a lot of those, and they were really helpful for the winter, getting us ready for pace in the track. And on the indoor track, the 200-meter indoor track was really cool.
Following Steven's success in cross country and the team building the 6-day-a-week mentality, which was exciting, we had a few kids make a commitment during the winter to continue to train.
We started to go to these races that were like these indoor races, the House of Track, and we'd do the workouts and we'd run really well. It was really fun.
And then towards the end of the winter, coming into early March, there was during the U.S. Championship, they had a high school section, and me and Steven got accepted to run in that meet, and that was really awesome. Steven ran the mile and the 800, and I got to run the 800, and so it was really awesome to get in those early indoor races, because I think that really set us up for success in the track season.
And one of the highlights of winter training was the House of Track for sure. It got us in like the racing mode for track, the shorter distances on the track, and there was a lot of good workouts we had out there in Portland.
I want to share this analogy with you guys. When you see the fruit of something, I want you to remember it always started as a seed that was planted. And what we saw this spring as Cougar track and field athletes was the fruit of a seed that was planted at the end of last year.
So starting into track season, we always have our season opener, the David Douglas meet, which is they call an icebreakers, because we do just to get us into the flow of track and back into track racing. And me and Neil ran the 1500, and it was my first race with Neil that year, and we both ran really well for a starting race.
Go Neil, go Tristan! Go Neil! Let's job Neil, let's job Tristan!
As we came into the track season, our first race was at David Douglas, and we found out prior to that we were not going to be able to race on Canby's home track. Over the winter, there had been a lot of rain, and they had been having problems in years past with bubbles rising up on the track, and this year it had gotten really bad, and so they ended up making the decision to not compete on our track, and that hit a lot of us hard, especially Steven, since it was his senior year, not being able to have any home meets or a senior night.
So you think you could tell?
Go now!
Heaven compared, blue skies and pain. Can you tell a good feel? The cold steel rain, smile from a veil. Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to train your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze?
Hey, this kid's gonna die. Just let it go, he's gonna die. Your move, make your move.
Did you exchange walk on part in the wall for a lead roll?
The Willamette Falls Invitational was a huge breakthrough for everyone. I remember going out with Angel Salazar, who was a kid Steven had raced the year before in the 1500, and at that point I had no business beating any of those guys.
During track, one of my biggest moments was when I ran the 800 at the Willamette meet, I think it was, at Oregon City. And in my flight, it was the second or third flight, I don't remember, but I ended up taking first place.
I remember racing against Adam Klein in the Willamette Falls Invitational at the 3K, and I waited all day to race. And then I came out, and him and I were battling for about 3 laps. And Bob said something, and next thing I knew, Adam Klein gestured to Bob, did something, like a thumbs up or flipping him off or something, and I just took offense to that, and so then I left him in the dust.
Smooth, right on him, stay right on him. Hey, all the way through, you got this, you got it.
And I ended up running at 8:42, which sadly that was my fastest time in the season, which is really frustrating.
Flip it! You got this, Steven! Steven! Tristan!
You got this, Tristan. Eyes up.
Eyes up. Get him, Tristan, all the way, all the way! Come on, Steven! Come on, Steven! You got this, Steven!
You gotta go!
Come on, Tristan! All the way! Get him, Steven!
All the way, all the way!
So at the district meet, day one, I ran the 800 meter prelims, and I just knew that I was going to have to make it to the finals, which was on Friday.
Come on, Neil, let's go, Neil! Come on, Neil!
I just kind of stayed right in the front there, right with the other guys. I wasn't going to go hard the first lap. And then with a lap to go, some other guys tried to make a move, so I just matched it and went with them. And then with about 200 meters, people were trying to make moves, so I just kind of went, and I gave it a pretty big kick at the end and ended up running a PR in the prelims.
Let's go, Neil! Let's go! Neil! Dude.
So for districts, it was really cool to be able to, you know, once again, be a part of the elite 4 people. I remember in the 3K, I had a bad race, but I was able to automatically qualify based on my time. I remember finishing, and, you know, when I found out the news that I was going to the state meet, it's just like a relief. Finally, I was able to do it.
Let's go, T!
Let's go, Tristan. Let's go.
And at districts, first day was the 3K, and that was me and Steven, and I ran that, and I had a huge PR. Ran, I think, it's like a 20-second PR almost.
The day of the finals at districts was there was a 1500 meter run, and then about 45 minutes later I was going to run the 800 meter finals. So that was a very hard double.
And then our next day, you know, we came into the 1500 meters, and I remember Neil was running as well, and I ran like a 3:59, and then Neil ran like a 4:03, and so I was like, whoa. And I wasn't thinking that he was going to be able to qualify in the 800, because after running a 4:03, it's difficult to run a good 800.
And the next day in the 1500, all 3 of us, me, Neil, and Steven, ran together, and we all had really good races. I beat the guys I wanted to beat, both, and Steven qualified for state, and Neil ran incredibly.
So in the 15, the gun went off, and I found myself settled in right behind Steven and Mark French and the Olars, and I just sat right there for the first 2 laps. And with about 300, I went right around Adam and started closing the gap. And 200, I just sprinted all the way in, and I remember just watching Steven and Mark right in front of me, and I ended up running a 4:03, which was a big PR for me.
He came out in the 800 and he ran like a 1:58, and I was so impressed by that. And so then I knew that Neil and I and then Ian were going to state for track, and it's kind of cool because, you know, all of us are good friends.
About like good, really good shot.
Aiden Becker, Lincoln, Ahmed Roby, West Salem, Jackson Nestler, Sheldon, Stephen Cranston, Canby, Wilson, Mark Pritch, Tualatin, Grayson Oller, a breastman, Roman Oller, a breastman, 16 in the field, his final 3K, 6A goings.
It was really cool to go down to state and to represent Canby. I didn't have the best races. I took like 10th and 13th, but based on the year, I would have medaled any other year, and there are some years that I would have won state with the times that I've ran.
This is the 6A boys 3K bundle. Line to Alton, your early leader.
Go, Steven!
Here comes a...
I feel like I'm glad that I was a part of the deepest year of all time. You know, it's a little disappointing that I wasn't able to run better because I knew I could have ran better. I didn't even PR at state, but it was really cool to be a part of that.
7th,
Steven!
April 43.1. And 6th, Alexander Walker.
Didn't know how many beat him at in the indoor mile or whatever.
This is 6A boys, 1500.
Position.
Underway, boys 6A 800 second heat.
Second try, second heat.
At the state meet, I had never been to a place that was so official or whatnot.
Well, and we're going pretty wide. We're 4-5 wide here at the bell as Higgins comes up. 59.8 at the line. Somebody else just surged forward. That is Cranston from Canby, who's charging hard on the outside, and out of the middle, Higgins went into the lead. He just ran between everybody, and he's got Cranston behind him, and now everybody else behind him.
Lincoln by Guy battling back, but here comes.
That's Aguilar up to second, and then Southridge Mann's up there, so he'll get second.
Wow.
And Aguilar third.
I like that one.
It's a pretty good racing. 158.11 for Higgins. And let's look at those 4th and 5th place times. That's always the key of who's moving on. Cranston, 159.41.
After the season, after state, a lot of people went to watch. We came back and Bob told us we were going to be holding a postseason 5K challenge on our track, which was really cool because we hadn't raced on our track at all. And me and Neil went out in that race to try and hit 80 pace. We wanted to break 16:40. Having Neil there, he kept the pace going. He pushed me, and I stayed with him, and I was able to get past that barrier, and it really helped me keep going. And with 3 laps to go, I started to lose Neil just like he had earlier to me. And I pulled open a little bit of a lead, but he came back and matched me again. So we were just pushing each other and keeping each other at the pace. And without each other, I don't think either of us would have broken 16:40 like we did.
To me, the Cougar Project is really more about just getting your miles in. It's really about like building character and strengthening friendships. You wake up early in the morning and you get motivated. You actually do something every morning. It gives you something to like work towards, and you hang out with your friends, and it's a really good time. The Cougar Project really changed my life in the sense that it gave me something to do. Like every summer I'd sleep in till like 10:30. I'd wake up and I'd just start watching TV or something. But now I have something to do with my life. I wake up, I go run, and yeah, it really gives me more to do.
All right, so the Cougar Project, it's affected me in more than just running. You know, the work ethic that comes with being part of the project, just being dedicated to getting better every day. It isn't limited to just running, and it transitions into school, trying to get good grades, and just in life, trying to be a good person.
I'd say the Cougar Project, you know, it's really cool because I was a founding member of it, and it's really cool to have it as an idea in your mind, and then the next thing you know, people are using it as like a lifestyle. Like I said, we're only the starting group, and I'm sure in 5 years there'll be another documentary about another group that has taken the project to a whole new level, and that's something that's really cool to think about.
People look back on these moments that are happening right now as kind of the foundation of the Cougar Project. They're just going to see that we were just paving the road. We were just laying down the bricks for what was to come. I only have 1 year left, but I intend to make the best of it, and I hope that I can further establish this project and we can do some great things. But I know that even when I leave my mark, just like Steven has, and when Tristan leaves his, that this thing isn't over. It'll be passed on to the next generation and the next generation after that. That's what's so cool about the Cougar Project.
Talking about the Cougar Project, I like it for a few reasons. It's not my project, it's a Cougar Project, and the athletes thought of it, and they have a lot more ownership in it. It's a lot more important for the athletes and for the team to buy in than for me to try to sell them something or push them to do something they don't want to do. The differences I see, individuals are buying in better, and then the group sort of holds each other accountable for being consistent in work and doing the right things, maybe not breaking training rules, maybe getting sleep, taking care of yourself. And those are great life lessons, but they're also going to pay off, in the short term for the team.
What it's done for me is it's made me more confident, a lot more committed to like a certain sport even, and it's helped me in school. It's changed me a lot more. I've become a lot more humble because of this entire thing.
The Cougar Project, it's more than just a team of guys going out to be good at running, good at track and cross country. It's more than that. It's a band of brothers. It's like a lifestyle for us. We know that we have to hold each other accountable and make each other the best that we can be and keep each other committed. I'm really excited for the future.
So the Cougar Project has really changed my life. I know it's changed a lot of other people's on the team. And it's not just in running, it hasn't just pushed us harder, which is one of the most important things about it, but it's also allowed us, like, outside of cross country and track and running, to come together, and it really put me in a good group of guys that I could know that they had my back and stuff, and even when things got tough. And it was really good that I had some good role models to look up to.
So overall, the Cougar Project has been really like a life-changing experience. It's just starting really, but just this year it's changed my life so much.
That attitude of we can do this, we can get better, and they did every week they came out and they got better, and kids that maybe had no business running were out there getting better. Girls, boys, slow runners, fast runners, it didn't matter. They were all out there working hard and getting better. And really that's the bottom line. Millbrook has always said it. He's always said it from day one. These kids have to own it. These kids have to hold themselves accountable. And that's what this group does. This group, they hold themselves accountable, and that's exciting.
It was really cool for me as a coach to see, because I know in my heart that something that is sown in good soil is going to reap a great harvest, and that's what happened. To me, the Cougar Project is a miracle. Not because there's not been qualified people who have been participating in it, but because of what's happened. When I think about what this thing started as and where it's gone to, and more importantly, when I think about where this thing is going, I know there has to be some supernatural intervention that's happening right here. This has been an incredible year, and for me to be a part of this Cougar Project experience has been a really cool thing for me. When I think of the Cougar Project, I think of something extraordinary. I think of something that could catch the world by fire. I think of something that's just going to be fanned into flame as more and more Cougars join this project and more catch the vision. It's not about showing off what's happened. It's about welcoming and inviting anyone who would want to come in and participate. Because that's what life is about. It's not about watching from the sidelines. It's about participating. And I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter where you end up in this thing, whether you're the fastest or the slowest. There's room for everyone. There's no limit. There's always room for those that would be willing to put their heart into something. And this is something you can put your heart into. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to invite anyone out there to be a part of this Cougar Project.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung, and may you stay forever young. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surround you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong, and may you stay forever young.
Hello.
The goat?
Hey, Dennis?
Yeah, Tim?
Actually, I'm just going to go to bed. I'll do the dishes in the morning.
Okay.
That way you don't feel rushed.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, brother, that sounds good.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Night.
Good night.
Hello?
Say I'm a freak.
I'm a freak. Hang on.
My life by motivating me to do more, like, or in. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get that to restart.
You're not looking up my dress, right? Is it recording?
Okay, talk.
Hello. My name is Tristan. I'm a registered freak.
Can you hear me?
Abracadabra.